What happens when a spaceship breaks down in space and there's no way home? In today's video, we uncover the shocking truth behind the Boeing Starliner mission that was supposed to last just 8 days, but turned into a 286-day survival story. From thruster failures to near abandonment, what happened up there will make you question how prepared we really are for space travel. You'll hear what astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams experienced during the ordeal, and why some experts now believe the Starliner program should be shut down for good. And if you stick around until the end, we'll reveal a little-known detail about what astronauts really get paid for risking their lives in space. It's probably less than you think. Let's launch into one of the most overlooked space disasters of our time. Becoming an astronaut is often seen as the pinnacle of human achievement. Adventurous, honorable, even glamorous. But when you strip away the press releases and patriotic slogans, space is unforgiving. And sometimes, the very technology meant to protect you becomes the biggest threat. That's exactly what happened with NASA's Boeing Starliner mission. Wilmore and Williams were supposed to return to Earth in just over a week after launch in June 2024. But things unraveled fast. And once they were in orbit, returning wasn't just difficult, it was nearly impossible. Thrusters gone. Rogue. As they approached the International Space Station, 4 of the capsule's key thrusters failed. These aren't decorative parts, they're essential for maneuvering. Without them, docking safely becomes a gamble. Wilmore had to switch to manual controls and quickly realized he was losing command. He told reporters later, "I don't know that we can come back to Earth. At that point, I'm thinking, we probably can't." They were floating just beneath the station, moving faster due to their orbital position. Any miscalculation, or another failure, and they could drift off permanently. No engine, no return. Inside the capsule, Wilmore and Williams shared silent glances. They didn't need to speak to know what was at stake. They were alone, and no one could guarantee a rescue. Drifting, waiting, praying. The capsule began drifting. The automated system tried to lock onto the ISS visually, but it was starting to lose alignment. If the margin of error got too big, the system would trigger an automatic abort. In other words, it would end the docking attempt completely, leaving the astronauts stranded. Ground control scrambled. Eventually, they managed to reboot the thrusters, a partial fix, enough for docking. When they finally latched onto the ISS, Williams did a little happy dance, but the joy was short-lived. The bigger problem was still ahead. No way home. Wilmore immediately questioned if Starliner was safe enough for a return trip. His first call? Calling SpaceX for help. With no trust left in Starliner, NASA turned to its rival, SpaceX. The next Dragon mission, Crew 9, was modified to make room for the 2 astronauts. On March 17, 2025, Crew 10 arrived at the ISS. The next day, Wilmore and Williams boarded the SpaceX capsule and finally made it back to Earth. But the damage had been done. They had spent nearly 300 days in space, facing not only technological uncertainty, but the very real toll that microgravity takes on the body. Bone density weakens, muscles atrophy, radiation exposure builds up. Mentally, they endured months of confinement, stress, and uncertainty. And for all this, they were paid just a fraction of what most people assumed. The $5-a-day astronaut. Both astronauts are in the highest federal pay grade, earning between $125,000 and $162,000 a year. That means for their 9-month mission, they received around $94,000 to $123,000 in salary. But here's the shocking part. NASA provides a per diem to astronauts, meant to cover food and incidentals. While in space, that allowance is just $5 a day. Yes, you heard that right, $5. Over 286 days, that's $1,130 total. Less than many people spend on coffee in a year. This revelation sparked public outrage. Even former President Donald Trump expressed disbelief, joking he'd pay the difference himself and thanking Elon Musk for stepping in. But poor pay wasn't the only issue. The deeper problem was trust in Boeing's spacecraft, and that trust had been eroding for years. A history of failure. The Starliner's failure in 2024 wasn't an isolated incident, it was part of a pattern. The first uncrewed Starliner test in December 2019 failed to reach the space station. Why? A software error misfired the thrusters. The mission timer was off by 11 hours. The spacecraft burned through fuel incorrectly, making docking impossible. NASA had to bring the capsule back early. An investigation uncovered over 80 issues. One of them? A second software bug that could have caused the two modules of the spacecraft to collide during separation, in a crewed mission that could have been fatal. NASA demanded another uncrewed test. It was scheduled for 2021, but just before launch, engineers found that 13 of 24 oxidizer valves were stuck shut. Why? Moisture had seeped in and caused nitric acid corrosion. The launch was postponed for nearly a year. Boeing added heaters and drying systems, but the root cause couldn't be fully confirmed. Why not? Because the service module, the part housing the valves, burns up on re-entry. It's gone forever. No post-mortem, no chance to see what really went wrong. In May 2022, Starliner finally reached the ISS in its second uncrewed test. But even that mission faced cooling and propulsion issues. Despite all this, NASA approved a crewed test flight, the one that would later trap Wilmore and Williams for 9 months. Why was this even allowed? The question on everyone's mind is, why did NASA greenlight a spacecraft with such a rocky history? Some say it's political. Boeing is a major contractor. Others say it was about competition. NASA didn't want to rely solely on SpaceX. They wanted two systems, two suppliers, redundancy. But redundancy only matters if both systems work. When astronauts are risking their lives, almost ready isn't good enough. The bigger picture. This story isn't just about a faulty capsule or underpaid astronauts. It's about how fragile modern spaceflight still is, and how easily a trusted system can fail under pressure. It's also about accountability. When machines go wrong in orbit, there's no lifeguard, no tow truck, no emergency exit, only cold silence and the terrifying knowledge that you are one malfunction away from disaster. And yet, Wilmore and Williams stayed calm. They adapted. They waited. And in the end, they made it home. But the next crew might not be so lucky. This mission was supposed to prove Starliner was ready. Instead, it exposed just how unprepared it was. Boeing's spacecraft nearly stranded 2 astronauts in orbit. It took SpaceX to bring them back. Want more stories that dive deep into the hidden truths of space, science, and strange events? Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a twist from the Oddiverse. Because sometimes, the biggest dangers are the ones we launch ourselves into.